So I'll show you what I've used for this card. I've used the sizzix wings, yeah, it's just called Wings Angel, that one, and I've used the primitive heart die from sizzix, and that's got 3 different sizes in it, but I've used the big one of that one. What I did, I cut some red card with the biggest die, and then I cut the biggest die again with the red paper, and just trimmed it round a little bit. You could use, if you want to, the middle-sized die, but it is a bit smaller than this. Up to you what you do. Then I just sanded the paper, because it's got a white core. You just sand around the edges with some sandpaper out of your garage if you haven't got a sanding block, and then so you can pinch some off your hubby. He'll be really pleased. Pinch all his equipment. There, and then you can just drag it along the paper, and it will take off some of that design and give you a nice sort of shabby look. So that's that. So that gives you the 2 hearts. Then I've cut the wings out, and what I did was use some gesso. You don't have to do this, but I used gesso. That gives it a nice texture. I don't know if you can pick it up. Cover the one wing, a fair sort of amount on there, and then pop the other wing on top when it's still wet, and then squeeze it together and then lift it off, and you should have that nice texture on there. Let those dry, of course. So our next stage is to make the stands to lift the heart up. So you need 2 little pieces of card the same colour as your heart, 1 1/4 by 3/4. Pop that on your scoreboard and just score it at 1/2 inch. Turn it around and score it at 1/2 inch again. That should give you 1/4 inch in the middle. So 1/2 inch, turn it round, 1/2 inch again, will give you 1/4 inch in the middle. Let's just make it into a little stand up like that. Do the other one, move that out the way. And we will have 2 stands like this. What we need to do then is to just stick that onto the back of the heart. So with it standing up like that, just press it down and then put some glue on one of the tabs. I'm using the Scotch, and then just stick it on one side. Take it just underneath the heart so that you don't see it so much, just slightly away from the edge, very slightly, and then do the same on the other side, and just line it up so they're more or less evenly placed on both sides. And that's giving you your little stands. I've also used a stamp from Visible Image, and I've used it on some, you can use vellum if you've got vellum. I tend to prefer to get the pergamano paper because I fancy it's a little bit thicker. I've stamped that, and I've stamped it I think 3 times there, so I've just carried on down. So I don't know how much I'm going to need, and I'm using a Visible Image background stamp. I'm going to use some acrylic paint with the stamp. You don't have to use that, you can use ink. This one I'm using is Reeves, and it's the copper, oh sorry, no, it's bronze, not copper. And what I'm going to do is just put it in an old CD, and I'm going to just sponge it onto my stamp. It gives a little bit more texture all the time, it's just a little bit something different. So we'll just dab it on, and then I'll pop that to one side a minute, out of the way, and then we can just stamp on there. I'm going to move that a little bit. So I'm going to just stamp down. That's giving that a nice texture. Put some more acrylic on. Of course you can use different things. Just have an experiment and see what you want to use. If you buy the very cheap ones, they're quite watery. This one is nice and thick, so it's good for putting on stamps like this, whereas the other ones will seep down between the upraised pieces of your stamp and you might not get quite as good image. Again, we put that on there. There's a bit mist on the edges of there, so I just go over there like that. I'll give that a quick wipe down. Should have done it on my non-stick mat really. Keep this clean. My trusty old rag, it's disgusting. But I use this, it's an old guest towel and I use this for everything. Okay, so now we're armed with those. Clean your stamp off, because you don't want to keep that acrylic on there because it will dry, so clean that stamp off fairly quickly. So I'm going to use this Rosarian paper from Prima to just use my knife here. I've used this one because it's got some nice borders on it, and that's what I'm going to use to attach my vellum. I'm going to cut those out. You don't have to use borders, you can just use strips of paper. You don't have to use borders, but I happen to have used those. So that's how you can attach your vellum. So just pop some double-sided tape down the two sides. One will stick onto your card. In fact, I think I'll put a strip in the middle as well. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of camera there. Put one in the middle so that I've got two lines of tape that are sticking to my card. Let's get that off. I used Stampin' Up! Real Red on the vellum, so that is a really nice red, but you will need to leave it to dry for a while, good while. So what I'm going to do, turn the vellum over, pop your sticky side down and then apply that. I can take a piece off the end because my vellum's a little bit longer than my there. I can cut it now or can cut it when it's on my card, it doesn't make any difference. So that's attached the vellum. Now we just need to attach that piece to the card. And what I'm going to do is just cut it off afterwards. So not quite to the edge. That's laid that down. Now what I'm going to do is cut it. I can do it with my knife, or I'm going to use all the scissors, whichever you like. I'll put my ruler. I'm using my magnetic one this time because I've got the magnetic Making Memories mat. This one you can cut, I'll just show you, you can cut it with the scissors. You've got the edge of your card there, which you can rest your scissors on. So you'll get a nice edge. So I'm going to use wet glue just on the piece of the wing that's going to go on the paper, and then I'm going to use glue dots on the rest of it because I don't want to crumple up the vellum. If it's wet, it often does crumple. So I'm going to put a few glue dots on the other one, the other side, 2 or 3 different places. Got glue on my hands now. So the glue will stick that down nicely where I want it, and then the glue dots will attach it to the other piece. I have to hold that down for a while, put something on it to keep it flat. On the other side I can just put some glue dots, put some scotch on there, and we're going to attach it wherever you want to. I think I want my heart further down than the wings. I'll attach that side on with the glue. Make sure that that's stuck. So if you just pop that down a bit, you'll decide where your other wing wants to go. I'm going to put it on there like that, stick it down, then I can glue that, and I can use the wet glue again now because it's sticking onto the actual wing rather than onto the vellum. So that's giving you a nice upraised heart. Now you can decide whether you want to put your border on the top there, on the edge, or underneath, so it shows through. If you don't like this flapping here, if you've got a wide border, that will probably weigh that down enough to flatten it a bit. If you don't like that flapping about, you want your border on top, you could put some brads in there, each end, to hold it down. Or you could do what I'm doing, because I've decided that's flapping about too much. Just taken about 1/4 of an inch off the side. You don't have to, just make a pencil line, you don't have to worry about it. I've just done it with my scissors. I'm worried about it being absolutely straight. Because we've done that, we can get our border, cover it with the double-sided tape, side to side, and then pop your border. I might have it that way around actually, no, that way. And then pop your border on. Because we've cut that piece off, it's enabling it to stick to the paper underneath, so that will stick that down for you. If you've got any little pieces that are sticking out, you can just trim those off. So that's given us a nice texture with the pattern underneath. Just put some double-sided tape on your heart now and just pop that down on there. That's giving you the stand up there. And then you can pop some more embellishments on. So to finish off the card, I've just put 3 of my handmade roses. There are lots of tutorials, I've made loads of them. The other thing I've popped in is a little spacer bead. And what I want to do is I think I've got those at a show. Just buy them in packs like this, or you can buy them off eBay or the internet. I'm just going to pop a little bit of hot glue in the middle. Try not to get it on my hands. And then a little pearl, black back pearl, which also I bought off eBay in packs. They come like this, so you can just glue them on things. Pop that on there. Just hot glue, just a tiny bit of hot glue on that leaf, just to stick that on. I want to cover that little bit of blue that was on my paper, so I'm using that. And then a little bit of hot glue again. Look at the state of my hot glue gun. I really need a new one, it's awful, this one. And then I'll just pop that on there, and I'll do the same to the top. And then that will be my card finished.